You are joining us for our second Transform CE Circular Economy meeting. We're going to record this session, so if you don't want to be on screen, please do keep your camera off. We want you to use the chat function to introduce yourselves and to also use to add questions throughout the workshop. So just as a way of an introduction, I'm Professor David Greenfield. I'm one of the partners on the Transform CE program, and I'm going to be your host for today. I'm not going to say too much at the beginning because we've got some brilliant speakers that are going to give some really interesting work that's been done over the last 12 months on this project. But before we do, I've got the delightful pleasure of introducing you to our new animation video that has been commissioned over the last few months and describes the project in detail. So sit back, relax, and listen and learn to what is the Transform CE and how it's going to be attempting to use plastics for the best over the next few years. Play the video, please. Could we put the sound on? Whilst we just get the sound sorted, for those of you just joined, we are going to be recording this, so if you don't want to be on camera, please do take your camera off. Okay, if we're ready to go.
Europe's northwestern countries are some of the region's largest consumers of disposable plastic products and greatest producers of plastic waste. Some of this waste ends up as landfill or is incinerated to generate energy. Little is recycled, and the supply of recycled materials is low, yet the demand for plastic is still rising. In 2019, 65 million tons of plastic products were manufactured in the EU, but only 30% of plastic waste was collected for recycling. Half was exported outside the EU and is thus lost for the European circular economy. This situation must change. We can achieve this change by transitioning to a circular economy, where waste products are repaired, reused, or recycled. We must recycle more plastics, not only because it is better for the environment, but because it creates economic benefits too. This transition is urgent. Developing local circular economies and strengthening the market for recyclates in Northwest Europe has many benefits. These benefits are bringing together the countries of Northwest Europe through the Transform CE project. Transform CE offers businesses an alternative to virgin plastic feedstock by adopting a circular economy business model. The aim of Transform CE is to recover all types of single-use plastic from local waste streams and transform them into valuable new products. In just under 4 years, we will save hundreds of tons of plastic from municipal waste. The project includes the establishment of 3 facilities in Northwest Europe, an additive manufacturing R&D centre in Manchester in the UK, with a prototyping unit established in Mons in Belgium, and an intrusion-extrusion moulding facility, the Green Plastic Factory, in Almere in the Netherlands. These facilities provide a solution for the efficient use of material resources and increase the amount of material recovered, recycled, and diverted from landfill. In the Netherlands, lower-grade plastics are separated from local plastic waste. The Green Plastic Factory in Almere is using intrusion-extrusion moulding to manufacture products such as construction components and furniture for outdoor applications from low-grade plastic waste. Examples manufactured to date include benches, poles, key covers, and even building materials to build houses. These products can be recycled up to 9 times. The R&D centre in Manchester and the prototyping unit in Mons are separating higher-grade plastics from local plastic waste. They produce recycled feedstocks or filaments for additive manufacturing. This is turning single-use plastic waste into new recycled plastic feedstocks for a whole range of applications to then become all sorts of new, valuable, recycled circular products. The project will help businesses to make the transition towards new circular economy models, thus promoting the large-scale local use of municipal plastic waste. This is just the beginning. Transform CE's local approach can be replicated and implemented anywhere in Europe. By 2023, the project will have generated the following results: the establishment of 3 facilities, an R&D centre, a prototyping unit, and the Green Plastic Factory, the provision of technical guidelines for using single-use plastic as a feedstock, the development of new circular business models, and the retention of value through diverse recycling methods. The results will be collated into an EU roadmap towards a circular economy for single-use plastic waste that will incorporate scalability of technology and demonstrate circular economy business models. Furthermore, Transform CE will stimulate large-scale uptake of plastic waste across Northwest Europe for the manufacture of new products. Be part of this transformation. Visit nweurope.eu/transform-CE.
Thank you very much. Hopefully you found that really interesting and inspiring, and we do encourage all of you that are new to Transform CE to get involved and to see how you can get involved in the future. And one of the people that's helping to actually put that together, but also manage the whole program is Rhiannon Hunt from Manchester Metropolitan University, who is going to give an overview now of the progress on the program since we started in 2020. So Rhiannon, over to you.
Thanks very much, David. And the video is quite comprehensive, so I'll try and keep this quite short and sweet and get on to the really interesting content that we have from our speakers who are looking at the material flow analysis. Next slide, please, Martin. Yeah. Oh. And again. Martin. Oh, okay. I had some slides in there. Here we go. That's me. Next slide, please. If you click that through. Sorry. So yeah, as we said, this is a schematic of the project really, and the 3 centres that have now been established and they're operational, which is great news. So we're separating high-grade plastic materials. They're going to our R&D centre in Manchester Metropolitan University here in Manchester, and the prototyping unit with Materia Nova in Mons in Belgium. And they're turning these materials into filaments, which can then be printed into new products and recycled many times over again back into new filaments. And then we've got the lower grade materials, things like films, which are more difficult to recycle, going to the Green Plastic Factory in the Netherlands, and they're being used to make sort of larger format products. And they can also be sort of recycled time and again. Next slide, please, Martin. So yeah, these are the 3 centres. So I'll just give a bit more detail on what each of these are doing and the opportunities for businesses and other stakeholders as well. So next slide, please. So in Manchester, the R&D centre is basically set up to develop new filaments from the recycled single-use plastic waste. That includes new formula developments, improving the performance of these materials through additives, and also increasing the variety of different performance factors for these as well. So we're working on conductive filaments, and we can also adapt these materials to different end uses as well, things like flexibility, reinforcement and strength and things like that. So really exciting there. So it can help businesses with product design, to redesign products for additive manufacturing. We can help them with prototyping, yeah, and really support them in their transition. Next slide, please. We've also got our basic sister site in Mons in Belgium, sorry, and they're working on the same sort of materials, but also looking at testing the end products and conducting a life cycle assessment of both materials and the processes employed, as well as sort of additive manufacturing and the actual process of turning these recycled plastics into filaments and end-use products. Next slide, please. And then we've got the Green Plastic Factory in Almere in the Netherlands. So they're using a different technology, the intrusion extrusion molding technology. They can support businesses with product design using that technology and also prototyping new products and things as well. Next slide, please. So it's always nice to share some images of what we're doing. So these are some prints made from our recycled 3D printing filaments that were recently shown at the Surface Design Show. We've got a architectural design there. We've got a biomimetic leaf design, textile print as well, an Arduino or Raspberry Pi casing, a box with a concealed opening, and a bee brick or bug hotel as well. So it just goes to show the sort of diversity of different products that we can make. Next slide, please. We can order free spools of recycled filament to trial as well. So this is the range of materials, diameters and colours that we have, and you can email us to request those. Next slide, please. And these are some images of the products that are being developed by the Green Plastic Factory in the Netherlands. So we've got some tiles and cladding there. It just gives you a nice visual representation of what those products are looking like as well. Next slide, please. The last one from me, just a promo of our business support program. So we've launched this now. We're already working with some businesses and in discussions with how we can help them. But this just gives you an idea of the type of support available. So we can help you to redesign your products for the different technologies and the materials. We can help you to uptake these technologies as well, look at implementing these within your business. We can develop bespoke filaments and materials and things for different end uses, conduct a life cycle analysis so that you can sort of promote all of the great sustainable work that you're doing. We also have sort of knowledge and technical expertise that we can transfer to you and your workforce as well, and also help you to commercialize these sort of new products and things with circular business models as well. So do get in touch if it's of interest. It's open to SMEs across the Northwest Europe regions, and we're very open to having discussions. But yeah, I'll hand back over to you, David, and on to our other speakers.
Thank you, Rhiannon. Yeah, really helpful. And I just want to reiterate what Rhiannon's just said in terms of, if you are an SME or interested in 3D printing filament, please do get in touch. Rhiannon, I'm sure we'll be able to put the email address that she put on the slide in the chat. So if you do want to get some of the 3D printing filament, please do. I've been using some, and it's creating some really interesting 3D printing models. So, okay, thank you, Rhiannon. We're now going to go on to our theoretical part. So the Transform CE program is broken down into a number of different work packages. And some of the work packages are trying to build up the evidence base to be able to take this program beyond the end of its life. And we're going to focus our first three speakers on the theoretical part. We're going to look at individual waste management systems across the 4 countries that we're working across. What are the differences? What can we learn from each other? We're going to tell you about where and what does the plastic do? Where does it go? What happens with it? How much of it is recycled? And what are some of the things that need to change to improve both the recycling rate, but also the availability of some of these recycled materials? And we're going to have 3 speakers, Amelia Burrell, who's from Sonex, Tim Buchan from IFAS, and we will then have Jalka Biernat from IFAS as well. And we're going to start with Amelia, who is going to introduce us to an analysis of different existing collection systems in Northwest Europe. Amelia, over to you.
Hello, everybody. as mentioned, today I'll be talking to you about the research that we have undertaken surrounding the different collection systems and their effectiveness on plastic waste capture. So next slide, please. So SONEX has been the lead on gathering and analysing information to include within a report on the existing plastic collection systems in the UK, the Netherlands, Germany and Belgium. So the report aims to analyse the important factors that may influence the volume of plastics collected and that which can subsequently be sent to the high quality recycling to be used within the 3D printing. Next slide, please. And then next again, sorry. So a questionnaire which was created using the software SurveyMonkey was sent out via email to the 4 partner regions. It consisted mostly of the tick box answers asking about the characteristics of the dedicated curbside collection service. So for example, we would ask something like how many vehicles are used to operate the service. So up to date, we've had 3 regions respond, which were Manchester, Almere and Altenkirchen in Germany. We are still awaiting information for Belgium, which we will hopefully be able to get soon and include within the report. Next slide, please. Secondly, we created a chain of custody using Excel. This was to look more in depth into the collection of the different material types. So the chain of custody consisted of 5 categories, which was the material collection methodologies, transfer points, processing, reprocessing, and material end destination. So included within this, reject, contamination, input and output rates were provided from the regions, which we use within the discussion to determine the effectiveness of each collection system. Furthermore, the regions were asked to provide multiple data sheets within the Excel for each municipality that they had data on. So Manchester provided 1, Almere provided 3, and Altenkirchen provided 5 municipalities. The Excel spreadsheet was also distributed via the same email. And as mentioned already, we are still awaiting data from Belgium. Next slide, please. So this slide represents the results from the questionnaire. And just looking more closely, Manchester has the most households on collection. And as a result, it also operates the most vehicles. So we have 83 over 9 local authorities compared to 4 and 2 to 4 for the other regions. Moreover, Altenkirchen uses a non-reusable sack, whilst the other 2 regions uses wheeled bins. And that's just kind of an overview of what we found. Next slide, please. So getting into the chain of custody data, this is the total tonnage of plastic waste collected. Even though Manchester had the most houses on service and collected the largest overall volume of plastic material, it was actually revealed that it collected the smallest quantity of material per household. So in Manchester, they collected 0.011 tonnes, where in Almere, they collected 0.7 tonnes, and Altenkirchen 0.05 tonnes. Next slide, please. This graph showcases the input and output rates from the MRF, most noticeably Municipality 3 in Almere, demonstrates a much larger input rate than the output rate, as you can see by the graph. It was established because there was a 90% contamination rate in the municipality, which can be explained by the combined collection with residual waste, where there is no collection separate from refuse or other recyclables. Also in Altenkirchen, there was a 100% output rate, and here is because they offer a commingled service. Next slide, please. As illustrated in the graph, Germany did not provide any data on the amount of plastic sent to high quality recycling, so they have not been included in this graph. But however, of the municipalities that did, Manchester sent the largest quantity of plastic with 9,996 tonnes. As a percentage, Almere sent 61%, 29% and 6%, which is respective of the municipalities of the plastic collected to high quality recycling. So Municipality 1 sent the most. Next slide, please. From this data, we have drawn some conclusions up. So for the first one, which is about the data availability, we found that capturing the data was quite difficult. This was because data obtained, there were several gaps as regions recorded different types of data. So having main headings was quite difficult because they brought in different types of data. For the second, commercial and industrial waste is mostly collected separately, yet it was revealed in Manchester that they collected the C&I in their service. And then moreover, EPR and deposit returns are more established in the likes of Germany and Netherlands compared to the UK, which could have highlighted some of the differences. Also, the last one, as we move away from plastic packaging, this may have some implications for waste arisings in the future. So that needs to be looked at more closely. And then lastly, we have a next webinar in May. So if you would like to find out more, please get in touch for any more details. And that's me, Dan.
Thank you very much, Amelia. And if you've got any questions for Amelia, please do put them in the chat. we're going to have a communal chat question and answer at the end of the first three speakers. And of course, please do use the chat to introduce yourself, a bit like Lewis has from Spain. So welcome to those of you that are in Spain. Okay, our second speaker is Tim Buckhorn from IFAS in Germany. Tim's going to talk to us about plastic waste in the Northwest Europe and some of the unused potentials. Tim, over to you.
Thank you very much, David. To support the demonstration plans and the business uptake and long-term strategy of the project, at IFAS, we try to assess the relevant waste streams rich in single-use plastics. And for that, together with the partners, we screened waste statistics, sorting analysis, and read a lot of studies and reports to find out about the amount of plastic waste and what happens to this plastic waste in the different waste streams. Martin, please. So our first step was to find out what should at least be in the different waste streams. Because of the EU Packaging Waste Directive and the extended producer responsibility, the market for packaging is pretty closely monitored, and there's a lot of data available. Packaging is the main source of single-use plastic consumed in the Northwestern Europe region. And as you can see, the most important polymers for packaging are low-density and high-density polyethylene, polypropylene, and PET. And all other polymers combined have a really low share of the overall share of polymers. So these four are by far the most important. When we have a closer look on the countries, Belgium has the highest plastic consumption for packaging with about 48 kilogram per capita. Netherlands, the lowest with only 30 kilogram per capita. Altogether in the four countries, we have more than 6.6 million tons of plastic packaging put into the market every year. And since this is short-lived single-use plastic, this will show up in the respective waste streams. Martin, please. When we have a closer look on the waste streams, in this example, Rhineland-Palatinate or Germany, we have identified as relevant waste streams the residual waste, packaging waste, and deposit return system. In the residual waste in Germany, we have about 7% of plastics left. Altogether, this sums up to 900,000 tons, and none of it is recycled today. All of it is going to incineration, so big potential for the plants. Summed up for Germany, we have 4.4 million tons of plastic waste every year, and of which 2.1 million tons are not intended for recycling, are going to the incineration today. In the packaging waste, we have still 40% of plastics left which are not recycled out of economic reasons or because they are compound materials which are hard to recycle or contaminated altogether. So there's a lot of potential in Germany left. Next slide, please. Our partners at the Rhine-Lahn-Kreis, they are currently testing further treatment options of the plastic waste in the residual waste instead of just incinerate it. And for this, they already they delivered the RDF fraction, so the high caloric fraction of the residual household waste to TOMRA sorting. And they, in the first step, sorted out the mixed plastics fraction out of this RDF fraction, which make up about 9% of the initial residual waste fraction, which is a bit more than the average 6.7% in residual waste. And in the second step, they sorted out a PE and PP fraction. This fraction is now delivered to Safe Plastics to our partners in Almea, which are testing this material as an input material for their pilot plant. Martin, please. When we look closer on the residual waste in the Netherlands, in the residual waste are still 12% plastic, despite of they also have a packaging waste system. This means in total we have more than 350,000 tons plastic in the residual waste per year, of which more than half is packaging waste. About 45% of the residual waste in the Netherlands is sorted in a materials recycling facility, which is pretty good compared to the other partner countries. But nevertheless, this means more than 200,000 tons of plastic waste in the residual waste are not recycled every year. Martin, please. When we have a closer look at the packaging waste, in this example in Belgium, there are 211,000 tons of packaging waste every year, of which about 150,000 tons are plastic. And with a recycling quote of the plastic fraction from 46%, there are still about 80,000 tons of plastic waste left per year, which are not recycled. One good development I want to mention is the switch in Belgium. They're currently switching from PMC, which stands for plastic, metal, and cartonnage, to P plus MC. That means for the packaging waste, they extend the range of plastic waste that can be put in the blue bag. And with that, they expect to divert 8 kilograms of plastic waste per capita from the residual waste to the packaging waste, which will increase the overall recycling quote of Belgium. Martin, please. When we have a closer look on commercial waste, in this case, commercial municipal residual waste in England, there is about 12 million tons of commercial residual waste every year in England, of which about 2.3 million tons are plastic waste. More than 50% of this are films, since England doesn't have a deposit return system yet. There are 12% bottles in it and more than 30% dense plastics. In this waste stream, they have a recycling quote of only 16.6%, which means in total 1.9 million tons of plastics in these waste streams are not recycled today. Martin, please. This is a really good example for a circular economy. Deposit return system, in this case in Germany, but doesn't matter in which country we look at a deposit return system. In this example in Germany, there are 467,000 tons of PET net share in the deposit return system, and we have a material recycling quote of 92%. So due to the high purity of the waste stream, it is possible to recycle that much. We have about 35% bottle to bottle, and the rest is going to films, fibers, or as other plastics. Only 35% bottle to bottle, although about technically more than 90% would be possible, but this is a really good input material and there is a really high demand, which hinders the increasing of the quota. So I think this makes a good case for source separation of plastic waste, because then it's much easier to recycle it. Martin, please. When we sum this all up, in the 4 partner countries of Transform CE, we have identified a total of 9.5 million tons of plastic waste, most of it single-use plastics, big part of it packaging waste, from which more than 63% are not intended for material recycling today. So we have left about 6 million tons per year as a potential input for our demonstration plans and businesses. So yeah, I think in the near future, we won't run out of this resource. Yeah, this is what is there today. And now my colleague Jalka is showing you some of the influencing factors on the future availability of these plastic waste streams. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Yes, as Tim just mentioned, we're now going to introduce Jalka from IFAS as well. So Jalka, please give us your presentation, and we're really interested to understand what influencing factors there are on future availability of plastics.
Yeah, thank you. Next slide, Martin. Sorry. So hello, everyone. I'm going to present you my topic in influencing factors on future plastic availability. So next slide, please. Part of the Transform CE project aims to show the future supply of recycled plastic. This should provide confidence to companies, increase the demand, and mitigate the identified risk. For this purpose, 3 scenarios are developed for the settlements, trade, and industry in the partner countries and throughout the Northwestern Europe. And for this, it is important to determine the significant factors influencing future plastic production. So next slide, please. Legal framework is one of these influencing factors. The EU has decided that at least 77% of all beverage bottles should be collected separately by 2025. By 2029, at least 90% should be collected. And to achieve this goal, a disposal system should be introduced, for instance. And another EU law is that at least 65% of all packaging should be recycled by 2025. And by 2030, 70% should be recycled. In addition, 50% of plastic waste should be recycled by 2025 and 55% by 2030. In Germany, we have a law, or a law has been passed that determines the minimum recycled content for single-use plastic beverage bottles. By 2025, single-use PET bottle must consist of 25% recyclate, and by 2030, all single-use plastic beverage bottles must consist of 30% recyclate. So next slide, please. For companies, a stable recyclate market is essential for investments in high-quality sorting and processing plants and a growing recycling industry. Furthermore, stronger incentives and sanctions will make the use of non-sustainability packaging more and more costly in the long run. Therefore, it will be more cost-effective for companies to recycle plastic in the future. Next slide, Martin. In the field of technical development, mechanical recycling is particularly interesting. Germany, the Netherlands, the UK, and the USA could use this in the next few years. The chemical industry wants to invest specifically in the chemical recycling plants in Europe, and therefore investments in innovative recycling processes need to be increased. So 2.6 billion should be invested by 2025 and 7 billion by 2030 to produce 1.2 million tons of recycled plastic by 2025 and 3.4 million tons by 2030. And for this purpose, plastic are recycled that would otherwise be incinerated or landfilled. The chemical recycling complements the mechanical process. And yeah, another important factor is the reconsidering packaging material and design, and with avoidance and minimization of unnecessary packaging can reduce plastic waste by 8%, which are 323 kilotons by 2040 in Germany. And in addition, the elimination of materials with multipolymers could increase the yield of mechanical recycling by 185 kilotons. Next slide, please. Yeah, a general trend is that some companies voluntarily place labels for proper disposal on their packaging. In general, you can say that consumers are increasingly paying attention to a company's ethics and sustainability, and more will stop buying products if they know they are not recyclable or environmentally harmful. So, next slide, please. In this part, I will present an interesting case study from the Netherlands. The analysis focus on the Dutch plastic consumption of around 2,000 kilotons in 2018 and expected to be around 2,150 kilotons in 2030. In the autonomous development scenario, the policy is not tightened and the amount of mechanical recycled materials increases and chemical recycling is additionally used. The scenario of the updated transition agenda has a higher target for the production and recovery of recycled and bio-based materials. So in addition, the use of mechanically and chemical recycled materials is doubled. So as you can see in the table, virgin plastic will continue to be very high in the autonomous development. And in the updated transition agenda, the production of virgin plastic will decrease significantly. So next slide, please. As I mentioned earlier, mechanical and chemical recycling has doubled in the updated transition agenda. In the autonomous development, mechanical and chemical recycling is applied significantly less. So next slide, please. With the updated transition agenda, plastic waste at the end of life is mostly sent to a collection or sorting system, and only a small part is used for energy recovery. And with the autonomous development, the plastic waste is distributed roughly equally between the two systems. And yeah, I'm now done with my presentation, and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Jälke. Some really interesting research from the three presenters there, and we've already had a number of questions in the chat. So please do continue to ask the questions in the chat. And I'm now going to host a Q&A for 10 minutes thereabouts on some of the presentation that we've already had. So I'd just like to start off. We've had a number of questions from Ord Grasset. So Ord, thank you very much for your interactions. Tim's already answered one of them, but I think it's well worth just reviewing the first one in particular. In terms of the plastic waste in Germany and whether or not it's incinerated for energy production or for just plain incineration. Tim, you've answered that potentially most of it is going for energy recovery. Would you like to extrapolate a little bit more on that?
Often parts of the residual waste are sorted, like there is a high caloric fraction sorted out, the RDF, and this is often going to waste to energy plants where the heat is used, but I don't have the numbers in my mind, so I have to look up which part exactly is going to waste, is going to be used energetically or just plain incineration. I think most of it is used energetically.
Yeah, I think under EU regs that came in last century, there was a aim to ensure that most incineration plants were generating electricity. So I don't think there's that many left anymore, and quite a few of them will have been updated. And I think in terms of other questions that we have on the chat, Ord's definitely providing lots of questions, and I think this is a question for both Jalka and for Tim. We've identified a certain tonnage of plastic that could be available for alternative use or for the demonstration plants. What is the best possible commercial venture for this resource? Open question to both of you.
Yeah, this is hard to answer because it depends on the material. I think it's a big part of the project finding this, find that out. So we have like a high quality material which goes to the additive manufacturing, or low grade material which goes to the intrusion manufacturing in Almere. This is part of the project to analyze this in detail. Which is the best way? Or, for example, the example I mentioned before with our partners at Rhein-Lahn-Kreis, which are trying out further treatment of the plastic waste which is not used today. But I can't answer this question at this today. We will find out in the project, I hope.
Indeed, that is very much the potential. Jalka, do you want to add to that?
No, sorry. I think the answer of Tim is very good.
No, that's fine. It's fine. I think it's a really interesting question, Ord, and very much that's one of the things we want to try and determine. And we're already starting to, I think, see from the research that we've done. And Amelia, I'll ask you a small question in a minute. One of the things that we're finding is that the nearer to the source of generation of the waste stream you can separate the material, the better the opportunity for reuse or recycling of it, which then does mean that the existing collection mechanisms that we have in place is absolutely crucial to being able to present the material in such a way where it can be reused as much. And Amelia, I think just based on the research and the results that we've had back, there is quite a difference in the way that waste is collected across the 3 regions we've got results from. Can you give a little bit more explanation as to why we're seeing some high quality materials in some areas? And I think the distinction between Manchester and Almere in terms of the amount of plastic per household, is that more down to the collection system, or is that more down to the attitude of the public, do you think?
And so one of the biggest things that we found whilst we were collecting the results is that the large volumes in Manchester, obviously because there's more households, it's also being collected with residual waste. So there's more opportunity for more volume of material to be collected. And that's why the contamination rates are quite high. So in respect to, say, the Germany data, it's not collected, it's collected separately from other recyclables. So there's 100% input and output rate. But obviously, also I think with the establishment of the deposit return schemes in, say, Germany, it has increased public's knowledge on how to recycle. I want to say properly, it's not properly, but it's increased their knowledge on how to do that. So I think that's quite a factor as well.
Yeah, I think use of the word properly is actually probably very appropriate in different spaces. Jälkkä, I want to just talk to you about the chemical recycling, because that's relatively new on the scene in the last few years. How do you think that's going to influence a lot of what we're looking at here? Is chemical recycling really going to be the solution that everybody jumps behind, do you think?
I can't really say, because it has some good possibilities, but also some negative points. And I think that the industry wants to invest a lot into the chemical recycling. They will find out a lot more opportunities and chances, and I don't know if it's the only choice or the best we could have, but I think why not use it?
Okay, and just on an alternative, and we're seeing this already across a lot of Europe. I think the case study that you showed for the Netherlands was really interesting, and the future plastics potentially available. And what role does the public have in influencing what materials are available for recycling by systems that we're putting in place? Are we seeing a move from multi-materials to mono-materials? And are we seeing a move from plastic packaging to non-packaging, going for zero waste stores and everything like that? Tim, based on the research you've done so far, is that a factor that's going to have a significant influence, or do you think it's just going to have a small influence at the edges?
In my opinion, the end user does not have the biggest influence. I think it is to have really good and recycling rates, we have to start with the design of packaging and plastic waste. We need only few materials with the lowest possible amount of additives and different versions. So it can be separated in a high quality, in a high purity. That makes recycling a lot better and easier. If we start thinking from the design of the packaging. In the end, of course, the end user has the possibility to separate, which is also good, but it's not enough for really high recycling rates, in my opinion. So businesses
Brilliant.
in the packaging market have a really big influence on how it will develop in the future.
Amelia or Jälkkä, do you want to add to what Tim's just said? No, that's fine. Okay. Right. Okay. If there's no more questions from the audience on the chat, I'd like to thank Amelia, Tim, and Jälkkä for their presentations. You are now free to relax and watch the rest of the webinar with interest. And we are now ready to go on to our third part of the webinar, which is the practical part. And we've heard some really fascinating research about what materials may be available, what volumes of materials may be available, what some of the influences are as to whether or not these materials will be available for use in the additive manufacturing processes that we're looking at. Now let's hear from some of the people that are actually trying to take these materials and turn them into something useful. And as part of this section, we're going to look at what does the plastic waste that Transferm Transform CE works with look like? What are we doing with it? How is it to be pre-treated, and what samples are transported from different sources for testing to the pilot plants? What does the actual existing sorting and recycling process look like at these places, and where do we get the plastic waste from? And to start us off, to talk about the deficits and opportunities in waste management for businesses, is Tobias Gruben from Be Circular. Tobias, you're very welcome. Please give us your presentation.
Thank you, David. Yeah, my name is Tobias Gruben. I'm CEO of Be Circular, a small and medium-sized enterprise from Germany. We are specialized in consulting and physical waste management and services, or you better call it, we're realizing circular economy. Yeah, I like to speak about deficits and opportunities in our work. So Martin, the next slide. Next, please. Yeah, short introduction, what we think means circular economy for us and for our consulting. And I want to show you two case studies from Transform CE that we developed with our customers. Next, please. Yes, what means circular economy? You see at the left side the linear economy and the linear model of exploration of raw materials, design and manufacturing products, use it and throw it away. For us, waste doesn't exist. It is just the wrong material at the wrong time and place. So Be Circular challenges this mission and offer consulting and services in the field of technology, of management, and also facing legal barriers in the field of circular economy. That's what we do with our customers, with companies, and that is what we do in Transform CE. Next, please. Yes, I have decided to show two case studies. One which describes the possibilities of circular economy in industry through technical challenges. We had done a lot of consulting service and technical experiments in sorting and preparation of the so-called waste from this company. And the other one faces the legal challenges, and it's just a legal question and the question of the contract they use to circulate or reuse their materials. That are the two case studies we want to explain. Yeah, next, Martin. I would like to show you just some pics of the material. As you can see, it is a very interesting mix of different plastic that are products from the pharmaceutical industry. So it's virgin material. It's only single used in this production, and then it has to be destroyed before the waste left the company. Within this process or this step, the different plastics get mixed. So at the right side, you see the mixed plastics, and this could not be used again. It's burned. Virgin plastic, which get burned, actually. The waste, the waste has been burned, so we developed a sorting concept with partners, and in future, 50% of this material could be used again, and they could get paid to deliver this material instead of paying for the waste. And it could be saving around €500,000 per year for this company if they do this sorting and that circular economy. Next, Martin. Also, just two pictures of, in the left side, you see the different polyolefin plastics. A lot of PP is in this waste. And at the right side, you see a sorting result of sorting this material. Next, Martin. Yeah, also some pictures of the experiments of the sorting techniques, and here you can see the results of this example of sorting. So you receive 40% PP, and actually that's a kind of gold digging because the market prices are very high at the moment. So you have earnings in a range of 600 to 1,000 euro per ton PP. So circular economy saves money. That's the message. Next, Martin. Yeah, that's the second case study. This company produces foams and they sell it to their customers. The customers produces different forms out of this foam, and a lot of material is left because they stamp it out. Till last year, the material was what was left was waste. Now this material is reused again as an input for this production company, and we call it byproduct. It's no more waste, and it's used many times in a circle now. Next, please. But there are a lot of legal barriers you have to face if you want to do this. The competition is we have to describe some important steps and processes that the company is allowed to say that's a byproduct and no waste. Because for using waste, you need an official and expensive allowance for byproducts. You can produce like it's new material. So that is much cheaper for the company. And as you can see, circular economy is sometimes also a legal or a problem of definition. And a lot of companies are not able to do circular economy because of legal challenges, and they doesn't have the information how they could do this. Yeah, next, Martin. Yeah, that was my presentation. I'm happy to answer some questions.
Thank you, Tobias. We're going to do questions at the end after Paul's spoken. All of our speakers have been brilliant today. They're being very much on time and indeed under time. So we're running quite ahead. Our final speaker of the day has the potential to speak for another 20 minutes if he so wishes. We're going to start looking at the applied regional circular economy models for waste streams, and it's very nice to see Paul Mul from the municipality of Almere in the Netherlands. Paul, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, David. So my name is Paul Mul. I'm from the municipality of Almere, and I would like to give you some more insights in the why and how a regional government can help the transition towards a circular economy. Next, please. So in the Netherlands, around 2014, 2015, the circular economy became a thing, and also a lot of regional governments were starting to set goals to move towards the circular economy. And you can see in the slide some of the goals which are commonly used by cities in the Netherlands. And if you set goals, you also have to get to work. So in the municipality of Almere, a municipal resource management program was being developed, which included almost all waste stream or used material flow from the municipality and from its citizens. And And the aim of the municipality was to get in all kinds of initiatives to start making those flows more circular. Next, please. So then you can think of why would a municipality want to make flows more circular? Well, there are several arguments which you can use. And one of the ideas which came forward from the municipal resource management program was the waste streams low-grade plastic. So the low-grade plastic stream is about half of all packaging waste which is being sorted out in the Netherlands is from the low-grade quality, and there was little demand for it. So the municipality saw opportunities to valorize that waste stream together with partners in the Netherlands. And when you valorize that waste streams, you can get all kinds of benefits, which you can see in the slide. But the most made argument in the Netherlands in Almere was to create demand for this waste stream, because there was little demand and the municipality thought, well, maybe we can help create demand. Next, please. Well, so the municipality wanted to get started with the waste stream. It's not only with the low-grade mixed plastics, but also with dozens of other waste streams. But the municipality cannot do that by itself. It needs partners, all kinds of partners to get started. And one of the most important partners you need as a municipality is a company who wants to, operate or exploit the concept which we were being developed. But that is easier said than done, because in that process, all kinds of bottlenecks appear somewhere during the process. So in the Netherlands, there's also a lot of research being done of which bottlenecks are those and what can we do about it. And the municipality of Almere also wants to play its part to get rid of those bottlenecks. So we were developing an approach to help entrepreneurs overcoming those. Next, please. And one of the things that we saw was that if you want to valorize material flows, you need certain steps or stages in the value chain, like you need a collection mechanism, you need a place where the materials can be stored or sorted or being upgraded in quality. You need a processing unit, and you need a way to market the products which are being developed. And what we also learned was that it was not effective to support only one stage in the process, but it was better to facilitate all stages in the process. And a government has a lot of policy instruments which they can use to help entrepreneurs to get a new value stream, value chain started. So that is also what the municipality of Almere did. And also in case of the green plastic factory, we try to help an initiative in all stages of a value chain with all kinds of mechanisms. And we call that circular procurement 3.0 to put it all together. So not only offer our waste streams, but also help to build a plant and also try to buy back the products which are being produced, so you can create new value chains where the government can offer its materials, but can also be a launching customer. And in the case of the plastic factory, we used also a relatively new European tender procedure, which is called the Innovation Partnership. And with that tender procedure, you can develop a new technology with a partner. And in the end, you can also buy back the products which are being produced. So normally that's not possible. So that's not very attractive for a company that you can develop something, but there are no revenues at the end. So that was a procedure that we used in case of the green plastic plant. So next slide, please. It's not only about change in a value chain, but it's also about stages in a development process. So most initiatives start as an idea, and you want to bring them further into a commercial scale. But there are some steps in between, and every step in the development process needs another type of policy instruments to help those further. So like I said, we have several dozens of material flows we want to valorize in Almere, and for each flow there are ideas, and every idea is in a different development stage. And what we try to do is to nurture all those ideas or concepts of pilots to get them one step further in the process. And what you see is that it gets harder to get further if you are further along the way in the process, because then you need no more money, or you see more regulation, or you have to create more revenues to get things feasible in the end. But we were also successful, as you can see on your right. You can see some of the projects which already are being built and are operated at the moment. And as you can see in the middle, like the project we are doing now in this Interact project, the green plastic factory is now in the scaling up phase. Next, please. And as you can see here, if you really want to do the job done, it's a matter of investing in the long term. So the idea of the green plastic factory started in 2017, and we are now in 2022. And if all goes well, in a couple of years, a green plastic factory can be there on a commercial scale. So we are talking about a period from 5 to 8 years to get from an idea to a plant on commercial scale. And in the graph, you can also see several of the activities which the municipality and other partners have done to help the company who is operating the green plastic factory further. Like we started with an idea in 2017 because we met the owner of the factory by coincidence. We did a market consultation, we did several studies, we made several projects to prove the case of the concept. We did the procurement procedure. We have to show all kinds of project leaders from the public spaces in the Netherlands the products which can be made, because they were not easy to convince to use and buy the products which could be made from the plastics. We did the Interact project. We are now showing some of the projects in our public spaces. We are showing the products on a big event, the Floriade in Almere. We try to convince our alderman and mayor about the importance of the project. So you see, a lot has been done to make it all possible. But of course, Safe Plastic Excels has to do even more. But it shows that if you really want to do something, you need to be there for the long run, and you have to pull out of your closet all kinds of policy instruments to help an entrepreneur further on the way. And by doing so, we hope to be successful at this project and also in other projects in the municipality of Almere. So, David, I don't know if I also was really fast in my presentation. But that's in a nutshell what I want to tell you about our project and our approach in Almere.
Thank you. Yes, you were, Paul. Just under time, which is excellent. Everybody's been brilliant in terms of speaking, which is very unusual. I don't think I've ever chaired a webinar where everybody has been under their allocated time, which means we've got loads of time for questions. And Those of you that are on the listening, please do use the meeting chat to ask some questions. We've got two really interesting presentations from Tobias and Paul, and I suppose I'd like to just start off with the fact, asking the question, Paul, really from your perspective, and circular procurement 3.0 sounds like a very, very interesting place to start. Do you think local government, do you think municipalities have got this on their radar, and is this something that is easily achievable, or do you think it's going to be very difficult to achieve?
Well, I cannot speak for other countries, but in the Netherlands, there are certain policy goals being set by the central government that every government has to have 100% circular procurement in 2030. So every government in the Netherlands has to procure circular within 8 years. But the way in which they well, put that into practice, that differs, of course. And not every procurement procedure asks for the same approach. Like if you want to buy some office supplies, you don't need to create a plastic factory. So the approach circular procurement 3.0 is more or less meant if you want to develop an innovation together with a partner, like a hub or a processing facility for a waste stream or a material flow. So then that can be a procedure which can help. But for other types of procurements, you may have a better procedure which fits the job.
Brilliant. Now, I know from some of the work I've been doing with municipalities that they see procurement as a lever, but not as a particularly big lever. So if you've got the Dutch government saying that all municipalities must procure 100% circular by 2030, that's a huge shift rather than just a small lever. I know working with one of the municipalities in the UK, in Brighton and Hove, we set a target of 75% circular procurement by 2030, and thought that was ambitious. And I'm now going, oh, we'll have to go back and change that.
We have a certain history in the Netherlands because in 2007, the first policies about sustainable procurement were being developed. And in 2011, every government had to buy sustainable. So yes, it was already in our system to apply the method. Only since a couple of years, the word circular has to be added to that definition.
Indeed, and I've got one of the books which came out from Holland a couple of years ago. This is where Circular Procurement in 8 Steps, written by Cecil van Oppen. And I personally, as somebody who's worked in local government for 20 odd years, local government, municipalities and central government have got the opportunity to really spark a circular economy regime. Tobias, so just taking on that, from the businesses you've been working with so far, have you seen a change in attitude to the contamination of plastics or the presentation of materials, or a shifting change in the plastics that are being presented?
Yeah, a lot of changes the last 2 years because of the rising prices. They have the really big problem that the prices of polymers rises 30–40%, and so everybody thinking about reuse their materials and do circular economy. So that is really nice for us and really nice for the aim of our project. And I think that's the right way to face the actual challenges of climate protection and resource efficiency and so on.
Yeah, I think the rising fuel prices really meant that virgin plastic is now far more competitive with recycled plastics. So we are getting to that place again. However, we did have something like this about a decade ago. I remember, particularly in the UK, a plant that was produced to create plastic, food grade recycled plastic from PET, and the price of oil dropped through the floor, and many of the suppliers walked away and the company went bankrupt. Do you think there's a danger of that again, Tobias?
Yeah, that's very dangerous, because now you get paid for sorting and washing and so on. And if the prices of oil fall down, then the companies buy virgin material. So they have to have a legislation for buy recyclates and recycled plastics, and that is what the EU is discussing at the moment. And I think that's the right way.
Yeah, because I haven't heard of any, and you might be able to tell me otherwise, that there are agreements between an off-taker and a producer of recycled plastics which are legally binding. They're more a memorandum of understanding that we will buy, and then if we decide we don't want to, we won't.
Yeah, that's also okay, but if the prices fall down, that's the question. If they still use their agreement.
Yes, and that's the danger, isn't it? There isn't this legal agreement in place in many cases. The ability to walk away from a recycled plastic is quite high.
In the Netherlands, you have the plastic pact. Huh? And also you have a plastic pact on the European level, and one of the targets in the Netherlands is that in 2025 all plastic products should have at least 35% of secondary material in it. Huh? So that's the more or less the same incentive you have for fuels, like you have to have 10% of organic content in your fuels. So as you see, like with I don't know, call it the fats from fries. The
fries, yes.
The fries fat. That's more valuable. Used fat is more valuable than of grease than primary material. So maybe we can also get some incentive for plastic if legislation is in place like that.
So I think that's a really important part, and I think this links nicely to some of the work that we're going to be doing as part of this project over the remaining time that we have on this project, which is looking at what recommendations can be given to government and to municipalities around how can they embrace this material stream. I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to call it waste. It's a material stream for local benefit. And that's going to help with some of the projections that the team are putting in place, and looking at the future viability of this as well. And I don't know if any of the previous speakers want to jump in on this. I could just see Tim raising a smile at one of those. So Tim, do you want to give us some thoughts on future of availability based on the discussion we've just heard from Paul and from Tobias?
I totally agree with what they said. So we need these incentives. We need these recycling quotes or legal bindings for that. As far as I know, in parts of the industry, they already have these, like for beverages, for PET bottles. They, I think, they have to have about 30% of recyclates in it, and this is the right way to increase this and to make it sustainable for the future, so that when prices for virgin materials fall, they all the recycling still takes place.
Yes. Okay, brilliant. Paul, thank you for sharing your graphic with us. Do you want to just tell us about it while it's there?
Well, it's in Dutch, unfortunately for most of you, but it shows that in all stages of the plastic life cycle. There are several targets being set, like in the design phase, 100% has to be recyclable. In the waste phase, 70% has to be being recycled. In the use phase, you have to use 20% less. And in the production phase, new plastic products should consist of at least 35% of recycled materials for input. So in the whole chain, you have targets.
Indeed, and that 20% reduction, or minder, that's a new word for me today. I like that.
Yes.
I think that's something which Janneke, in terms of the future that we're looking at, something like a 20% minimization target is going to be quite challenging on future availability of materials, potentially, because we could automatically see a reduction of that 6 million tons, and Tim as well, down to, what's that, 5 million tons. There's still a lot of plastics there, but we are narrowing the potential that's out there. Any thoughts on a target for minimization of waste plastics being generated? Tim or Janneke? Nope. Okay. Go on,
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yes, certainly. It was just reflecting on Paul's graphic, which shows that in the Netherlands there's going to be a target of 20% minimization of plastics to be produced. I think that's correct, isn't it, Paul? And therefore that's going to have a reduction of the amount of plastics that are available in the waste stream, and potentially be quite significant on the amount that we might be able to target for this sort of additive manufacturing. And just some thoughts on some of the policies that might come through that lead to less material being generated.
I'm sorry, I still don't get the question right now. So I think it's very important that we have legislative regulations, so that companies have to change and have to do more recycling in their production, and also rethink their products, and also how they use plastic in their products, and how they could minimize the usage of it.
Okay, no, thank you. No, that answers the question anyway. So
okay,
perfect. Okay,
maybe I can give you an example.
Please do, Paul. And
like
jump in.
That's not in recent years, but in the last 10 years, the average weight of a PET bottle has dropped by 20%. So also in design, you can work on less material, or like in the old days, like most vegetables had plastic around it. In the new days, you can buy plastic without, or buy a vegetable without plastic around it. So there are a lot of ways to reduce the amount of plastic.
And Tobias, I suspect you were going to ask the same question, or give the same example.
Yeah, but I think it's very a big problem to measure this recycling quotes, and it's a discussion of the definition. What is recycling? That's a European problem, actually. It's not the same in the Netherlands and Belgium and Germany. So every country have their own definition of recycling. For Germany,
Yes.
the recycling is the input of a recycling plant. And it doesn't matter how efficient it is. So they put 100% in, and 50 or 70% is the output. So they have 100% recycling of waste.
Absolutely. And I know that when we were doing the research on the municipalities and the waste flows, and I think Amelia showed that with one of her graphs, that the MRF outputs were very, very different. depending on the country. And I think, yeah, the definition of recycling is a really interesting one. I did a report a couple of years ago looking at the application of the recycling definition across Europe, and at the time there was 4 different methodologies. The EU are starting to look towards a combined one now, but it was quite interesting when taking a municipality in Germany and looking at their reported recycling rates based on the German adoption of the recycling rate, which was essentially a capture rate mechanism. So how much material you're collecting, and then comparing it somewhere like the UK, where it was doing a tons recycled, i.e. What is the recycling after the contamination at the MRF, and then swapping the application of that recycling rate around, and we saw that the UK recycling rates went up by 20 or 30% in certain cases, just dependent on the way the recycling rate was applied. So yeah, I think policy is hugely challenging here, and we do need to have a level playing field. Thank you, Andrew, for just putting in the chat some interesting statistics from WRAP, who have suggested that there's going to be a drop in plastics between 2018 and 2019. I think that's very fair, and they suggested another 6% between 2019 and 2020. If that trend continues, we are going to get to a point where there is going to be significantly less plastic in the stream that we're talking about. Okay, final thoughts from our speakers. Really just what are the next steps that you'll be undertaking, Tobias and Paul, in terms of the work that you're doing, and then we'll finalize. Paul, so yes, where next for the work that you're doing over the next 6 months in terms of looking at the municipality?
Do you mean like for the Interact project, or
yes,
more in common?
Bit of both, Paul. You can tell us whatever you want to do.
Well, in the Interact project, I more or less follow your lead or the lead of Tim, what you ask of me for data and ideas. So I don't know what you asked of me.
No, that's fine. I think it's probably more in line with applying the procurement 3.0, but that's fine. And Tobias, in terms of the work that Be Circular are going to be doing on this project over the next few months, be interesting to know where you're going.
Yeah, I think we focus on more case studies like that both I presented today, and also looking for best practice examples to show what is what is possible in circular economy and plastics. I think that's a big topic for us, and find more partners to realize circular economy examples. I think that's our aim for the next 2 to 3 months.
Brilliant. So there's a call out to everybody listening. If you're interested in what we're doing through this project, we do want to hear from you. We want to engage with more people. There are elements of support available for businesses, and we do want to interact with small and medium businesses. We want to give out some of the 3D printing filament that we have produced. So please do get in touch. So before I finish, I'd just like to say, firstly, thank you to our 5 speakers. So Amelia, Tim, Jalka, Tobias and Paul. Thank you to all of you for listening today and asking questions. We're going to be running another one of these in the near future, really to keep you up to date with the research and the practical activities that we've been undertaking. And we're also going to be having a dissemination webinar in May, probably the 12th of May, for municipalities to focus on the dissemination of some of the research around collection mechanisms and recommendations around some of the challenges of collecting plastics in the future and making sure we get good quality. So we're actually bang on time virtually. So there's a couple of other people I'd just like to say thank you to, and that's Miranda and Martin and Michael for organising all of this today. And thank you to the rest of the Circular Economy Transform CE team in Manchester, so Matilda and Rhiannon, and probably loads of other people I should say thank you to. But it's been a really fascinating webinar. Thank you all for sharing all the information, and thank you to everybody for coming along and listening. Have a good rest of the afternoon.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.